Do you have ESOPs in your job package? And recently your company has asked you to move on to a different country. Then you must be wondering how the new tax rules are going to be. So if you are an Indian resident or an NRI with ESOPs in your job package, stay tuned to know how ESOP taxation works. But before that, please subscribe to moneycontrol.com for more such updates. So firstly, let's come to ESOPs. ESOPs are employee stock ownership plans. They're just like getting a piece of the company you work for. It's like having a slice of the pie, but instead of the pie, it's company's shares. Cool, isn't it? So, if you're an Indian resident holding the ESOPs or employee stock ownership plans of an Indian company as part of your compensation package, then the taxation of such ESOPs is clearly laid out under Indian tax laws. You get taxed at two stages. One, when you exercise your right under the ESOP to buy the shares, and secondly, when you sell these shares. So firstly, you get taxed on the perquisitive value at your income tax slab rate. At the second stage, you get taxed on the capital gains, if any. The taxation of ESOPs, however, gets complex if you are an NRI. So then the big question is that, do you get taxed based on the taxation rules of India or any other country? So India has double taxation avoidance agreements, which is basically called as DTAAs, with many countries. These agreements help avoid double taxation, ensuring that you don't pay taxes on the same income both in India and your new country where you are currently placed. So under these DTAAs, you may get credit for taxes paid in one country while filing in the other. Let's suppose Mr. X is working at the India office of an Indian company. He has been given ESOPs. Later, he was transferred to the overseas office of this company. Once the vesting period, which is partly spent in India and partly spent in the other country, is over, Mr. X can exercise the ESOPs. But you must be wondering how they will be taxed, or how he or she will be taxed. So, according to experts, a part of the perquisitive value that relates to the period of employment in India will be taxable in India, and the rest will be taxable in the other country. So, if half of the vesting period was spent in India, then 50% of the perquisitive value will be offered for taxation in India. This is how Mr. X will be taxed if he is not a tax resident of India at the time of the exercise of the ESOPs. But if Mr. X happens to be a tax resident of India at the time of exercise, then the entire perquisitive value will be offered for taxation in India. However, he can claim credit in India for taxes paid in the other country on the gains relating to employment period in India. Now let's take a slightly modified version of the above example. Suppose Miss Y has been working in the overseas office of an Indian company, and then she's granted ESOPs by the Indian parent company. Once the vesting period is over, she can exercise the ESOPs. Then again, how will she be taxed? So Mrs. Y will be taxed as per the laws of the other country, which is where the stocks are exercised. In addition, if she also qualifies as a tax resident of India, she will be taxable in India too on this income. So, she can, however, claim foreign tax credit in India. Note that someone residing in another country can still be a tax resident of India, especially in their initial years of shift from India to other country. Now, with time, the person is likely to become a tax resident of other country where he or she is normally residing. Now, let's come to taxations on sale of shares. While we talk about capital gains from the sale of shares of an Indian company, it is always considered as India-sourced income and is therefore taxable in India. This is irrespective of the person's residential status. But as per the experts, this income may also have to be offered for taxation in other country as per the DTAA or as per that country's tax laws, whichever is applicable at that point of time. So simply, if we put that What this means is that depending on the DTAA or other countries' tax rules, the person may either get tax exempted or be able to claim tax credit for the capital gains tax paid. In case of the US and India DTAA, the capital gain will be taxed in both the countries. However, tax credit can be claimed in the country in which the person is resident. But what happens if there is no DTAA between India and the country you are residing in? So, as per experts, Indian tax laws still provide relief to its tax residents on doubly taxed income in the form of tax credit for taxes paid in the other country. However, such credit is available on the income sourced from the other country. So, in the end, given the complexities involved in taxation of ESOPs for NRIs, it's best that professional advice be sought on this. For more such updates, keep watching moneycontrol.com.